Welcome back to the final stave of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. This is the climax of the story. This is where we see transformation and grace and redemption and energy and excitement. I can't wait to hear everything that's going to happen to Ebenezer Scrooge on Christmas morning. Enjoy. God bless you, everyone.
A reading from A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Stave 5, the end of it. Yes, and the bedpost was his own. The bed was his own, and the room was his own. Best and happiest of all, the time before him was his own, to make amends of it. I will live in the past, the present, and the future, Scrooge repeated, and he scrambled out of bed. The spirits of all three shall strive within me. Oh, Jacob Marley, heaven and the Christmas time be praised for this. I say it on my knees, oh Jacob, on my knees. He had been sobbing violently in his conflict of the spirit, and his face was wet with tears. His hands were busy with his garments all this time, turning them inside out, putting them on upside down, tearing at them, mislaying them, making them parties to every kind of extravagance. I don't know what to do, cried Scrooge, laughing and crying at the same time. I am as light as a feather. I am as happy as an angel. I am as merry as a schoolboy. I am as giddy as a drunken man. And Merry Christmas to everybody. A Happy New Year to all the world. Running to the window, he opened it and put out his head. No fog, no mist, clear, bright, jovial, stirring cold, golden sunlight, heavenly skies, sweet fresh air, merry bells. Oh, glorious, glorious! Oh, what's today? Cried Scrooge, calling downward to a boy in Sunday clothes. What's today, my fine fellow? Today, replied the boy. Why, it's Christmas Day. It's Christmas Day, said Scrooge to himself. I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. Hello, my fine fellow. Hello, returned the boy. Do you know the poulterers in the next street? But one at the corner, Scrooge inquired. I should hope I did, replied the lad. An intelligent boy, said Scrooge. A remarkable boy. Do you know whether they sold the prize turkey that was hanging there in the window? The big one. What, the one as big as me? Returned the boy. Oh, what a delightful boy, said Scrooge. It's a pleasure to talk to him. Yes, my buck. It's hanging there now, replied the boy. Go and buy it, said Scrooge, and tell them to bring it here, that I may give them the direction where to take it. Come back with the man, and I'll give you a shilling. Come back with him in less than 5 minutes, and I'll give you half a crown. The boy was off like a shot. I'll send it to Bob Cratchit's, whispered Scrooge, rubbing his hands and spreading with a laugh. He shan't know who sends it. It's twice the size of Tiny Tim. he went downstairs to open the street door, ready for the coming of the poulterer's man. Oh, here's the turkey. Hello again. Merry Christmas. The chuckle which he recommenced the boy was only to be exceeded by the chuckle with which he sat down breathless in his chair again and chuckled until he cried. He dressed himself in all his best and at last got out into the streets. The people were by this time pouring forth. Scrooge regarded everyone with a delighted smile. He looked so irresistibly pleasant that 3 or 4 good-humored fellows said, "Good morning, sir. A Merry Christmas to you." And Scrooge said often afterwards that of all the little sounds he had ever heard, those were the blithest sounds in his ears. He had not gone far when, coming on towards him, he beheld the portly gentleman who had walked into his counting house the day before and asked, "Scrooge and Marley's, I believe." "My dear sir," said Scrooge, and taking the old gentleman by both hands, "Mr. Scrooge?" "Yes," said Scrooge, "that is my name, and I fear it may not be pleasant to you. Allow me to ask you pardon. And will you have the goodness—" Here Scrooge whispered in his ear, "My dear sir," said the other, shaking hands with him, "I don't know what to say to such munifi." "Don't say anything, please," said Scrooge. "Come and see me. Will you come and see me?" "I will," said the gentleman. "Thank ye," said Scrooge. "I am much obliged to you." He went to church and walked about the streets and watched the people hurrying to and fro and patted children on the head and questioned beggars and found that everything could yield him pleasure. He had never dreamed that any walk, that anything could give him so much happiness. In the afternoon, he turned his steps toward his nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and knock. But he made a dash and did it. "Is your master at home, my dear?" said Scrooge to the little girl. Nice girl, very. "Yes, sir. He is in the dining room, sir. I'll show you upstairs, if you please." "Thank ye again. He knows me," said Scrooge, with his hand already on the dining room lock. "I'll go here, my dear." He turned it gently and sidled his face in round the door. They were looking at the table, which was spread out in great array. "Fred!" said Scrooge. "Why, bless my soul," said Fred. "Who's that?" "It's I, your Uncle Scrooge. I have come to dinner. Will you let me in, Fred?" "Let me in? It is a mercy he didn't shake his arm off. He was at home in 5 minutes. Nothing could be heartier. Everyone came. Wonderful party, wonderful games, and wonderful happiness." But he was early in the office next morning. If he could only be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late. That was the thing he had set his heart upon, and he did it. Bob was full 18 minutes and a half behind his time. "Hello," growled Scrooge in his accustomed voice, as near as he could feign it. What do you mean by coming here at this time of day? It's only once a year, sir, pleaded Bob. It shall not be repeated. I was making merry yesterday, sir. Now I'll tell you what, my friend, says Scrooge. I am not going to stand this sort of thing any longer. And therefore, he continued, leaping from his stool and giving Bob such a dig in the waistcoat that he staggered back into the door again. And therefore, I am about to raise your salary. Bob trembled and got almost out of the door. He had a momentary idea of calling to the people in the court for help and a straight waistcoat. "A Merry Christmas, Bob," said Scrooge, with an earnestness that could not be mistaken, as he clapped him on the back. "A merrier Christmas, Bob, my good fellow, than I have given you for many a year. Make up the fires and buy another coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit." Scrooge was better than his word, and to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he became as good a friend and as good a man as the good old city knew. Some people laughed to see the alteration in him, but he little heeded them, for he was wise enough to know that nothing ever happened on this globe for good, at which some people did not have their full of laughter in the outset. His own heart laughed. That was quite enough for him. He had no further contact with the spirits. And it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well. May that be truly said of all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed, God bless us